That's fine. Welcome to the Durham Town Council meeting of Monday, October 21st, 2024. We're in the Durham Town Hall. I call this meeting to order. We would like to do a roll call just to introduce ourselves tonight. And I do not know whether Councilor Friedrichs is going to be on Zoom, so we'll go ahead and give her the option to participate in the meeting. So really all you need to do is announce your name and say yes or no.
Yes or no what?
So we'll start.
Curtis Register. Hello.
And yes or no in terms of
Yes.
Councilor Friedrich. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Darrell Ford, yes.
Eric Lund, yes.
Wayne Burton, yes.
Joe Friedman, yes.
Sally Nadell, yes.
James Bubar, yes.
Heather Grant, yes.
Okay, thank you. The first item here is for approval of the agenda. I have a suggestion for the agenda that, and you may have seen this in the packet too, that we have Chris Regan with us tonight, and he appears in two places on our agenda, and I would love to just stick 14B right after 10, 14A, sorry, right after 10B. I'd like to see made to the agenda.
I move that we approve the agenda as amended.
Okay, is there a second?
I'll second that.
Okay, Councilor Bubar, thank you. We can do this with a hand raised because we don't have Councilor Friedrichs as far as I know. So all those in favor? All those opposed? It's unanimous. Thank you. Special announcement. We have a special announcement tonight. It's a resolution 2024-23. And I would like to read the resolution, and then we'll have a motion. It says, Resolution 2024-23 of Durham, New Hampshire, recognizing Durham Fire and Public Works for their quick response to the town hall water leak, and recognizing the employees of the planning, zoning, assessing, IT, business, and town clerk substantial damage to the planning, zoning, assessing, business, and town clerk tax collectors' offices, and whereas the Durham Fire Department and Durham Public Works Department responded quickly and efficiently to the town hall the morning the damage was discovered, and whereas the Durham Public Works Department employees worked tirelessly to help with cleanup and the moving of furniture, and whereas the information technology employees worked quickly to help set up alternative work areas for both the business and town clerk tax collectors' offices, and whereas the employees of the town clerk tax collectors' office have worked quickly to set up a new office space so as to keep the functions of the office running, and whereas the employees of the town clerk tax collector's office have been patient and have stayed positive despite being displaced during one of the busiest times of the year with a November general election. Now therefore be it resolved that the Durham Town Council, the governing and legislative body of the town of Durham, New Hampshire, does hereby approve Resolution 2024-23 and does hereby on behalf of the Durham community thank the employees of the Durham Fire, Public Works, Planning, Zoning, Assessing, IT, Business, and Town Clerk Tax Collectors offices during this time. And Councilor Bubar.
I would move that the Durham Town Council does hereby adopt Resolution 2024-23, recognizing the Durham Fire and Public Works for their quick response to the town hall water leak, and recognizing the employees of the planning, zoning, assessing, IT, business, and town clerk, town tax collectors departments for their patience and flexibility during the cleanup and renovation efforts.
Is there a second?
Second.
Second. Sally Nadell, aye.
Joe Friedman, aye.
Wayne Burton, aye.
Eric Lund, aye.
Darrell Ford, aye.
Curtis Register, aye.
Great. Okay. Next on the agenda, public comments. So please make sure you let us know who you are, where you're from, and you have 5 minutes.
Thank you so much. For anyone who might not know me, my name is Lauren Selig, and I have the pleasure of being one of your current state representatives. As we all know, 2 weeks from tomorrow, we have a rather substantial election coming up, and you guys have a meeting the night before. I hope you'll keep short so that you can be well rested for the following day, which is sure to be a long one. But I want to especially thank in advance our moderators, our clerks, and our supervisors of the checklist for all of the incredible work they're doing in preparing for the election, for all the incredible work we know they will do on the day of the election, and for the fact that they keep our town elections running so smoothly. And so I just want to make sure we commend them. In addition, this year on the ballot, on the second page, for anyone who's looked at the sample ballot, it's front and back. So if you weren't aware your ballots are going to be front and back, they're front and back. But on the back, there's a ballot item this year, a ballot question that is phrased sort of strangely. It's about an existing law that says that all judges and sheriffs are required to retire when they turn 70 years old. And the ballot measure references both judges and sheriffs, but then says, should judges, not sheriffs, should judges be allowed to remain as judges until they're 75? So should we extend the retirement age to 75 for judges? And so I'm not telling anyone how to vote or what to do with the ballot question. I just want to explain that that's what the ballot question is asking, is whether or not judges explicitly should be able to continue until they're 75 instead of being required to retire at 70. And then totally and completely separately from that, and nothing to do with the work that I do in the legislature, I also have the honor of working with the New Hampshire Theater Project's Elephant in the Room series, which uses scripted play readings to talk about controversial or difficult topics. This Wednesday, I am incredibly grateful to the police department from Durham, the police department from the University of New Hampshire, and our shared fire department, who are working collaboratively to put on a presentation of Aftermath. It'll be at UNH in the MUB, and all the details can be found in the Friday updates with the link for how to register. It's free. We do request registration so we know how many people will be there and to ensure there's enough space for everyone, and there are still some limited tickets available. But Aftermath talks about PTS and first responders, and so there's about a 40-minute scripted where we'll have some incredible panelists, including Dr. Nicole Sawyer, who is an outstanding psychologist in the state who treats exclusively first responders and military members who are dealing with PTSD. And then from our police department, Captain Jack Dalton, and from our fire department, Deputy Chief Rob Atwater. And then we also have the author of the play as one of our panelists as well. And so it is open to the public. It starts at 7 p.m. and all the details can be found in the Friday updates with the link to how to register. So thank you.
Thank you. Before you start, Mr. Hall, I just going to give Councilor Friedrichs a chance to introduce herself.
M. Friedrichs, and I use the pronoun Caesar.
Great. Thank you.
William Hall, Durham. First off, I handed out that article. This will give you an idea of what the university's up against. They've got apps and whatnot like Side Chat. They've got the state, and they've got students, and they have to balance the interests of all three. And it's not a job that I think I could come close to doing. 2, 70%. So I went and I got this year's expenses for water. First thing I found, UNH system, $383. $383,000. Then you add to that the $58,000 we pay them to run the Spruce Hole well. Now, first, we pay all the expenses for our well, for our water. Then we pay them $58,000 for their well. Neither one of those have any basis for being billed to us. No basis whatsoever. That's $440,000. Then I found, when I added up all of the compensation, the full-time, part-time, overtime, and benefits, it's $295,000 for the year. We have one water person. He gets help to do certain projects. Each day he has to go to the well. He has to drive there, open the gate, and he has to go in. He has to change the chart. He has to make sure nothing's leaking, that we're feeding in the chemicals properly, and he locks the place up and leaves. Total time, 10 minutes. Then, every month, he has to go down there and get the chemicals. Well, the chemicals are delivered. So, he has to be down there to do it. The rest of this is very troubling. I forgot to bring one of my aides here tonight. He should be, and I have a hydrant wrench that's bent because we weren't checking the hydrants and spraying the stuff on the threads. He should be out every time the fire department goes out, check the hydrant the next day if they use one. Hydrants, at least we used to. So this is kind of troubling. In a number of ways, we are a doormat for the university. Now Todd is using the water ratepayers as an ATM. I estimate that we could probably deduct about $600,000 off the water account, maybe as much as $700, because based on what I found, there are things that I can't prove that I am certain were done by the same people. Oh, and what Todd said about the Foss Farm tank, we had an ironclad agreement. We pay a third, the university pays a third. For some reason, our staff got together and put this thing before the council, and it's been changed since then, but it was there just exactly the time when it cost $800,000 and the university was supposed to pay $500,000 have a time study done of what your person does for the water department.
Hello, my name is Xanthic Samis and I'm a student at UNH. I am not 100% sure that this is the right place to propose this idea. However, I'm here to advocate for the possible addition of a crosswalk and possible signage warning drivers and pedestrians between Main Street and Technology Drive. I currently live at River's Edge Apartments and see residents of the building often dart across the street to reach the Wildcat Transit bus stop or walk towards the cottages on the opposite side. As it's getting darker every day, I'm becoming increasingly concerned for those running across the road, and I'm hoping something can be put in place to protect the community of both pedestrians and drivers. Thank you.
Thank you for bringing it up.
Can you clarify your name? I don't know if...
Xanthic Samis, AXANTHIC
Perfect. Thank you very much.
Is that, would that location be under New Hampshire State Authority, or can we have any jurisdiction over a crosswalk there, Todd?
I'll have to look into it to see.
Okay.
It may in fact be on the state portion of the road, I'm not sure, in which case it would require
Yeah,
DOT
that part of Main
approval.
Street is Route 155A.
Yeah, so that would be a state issue. I think the challenge is it's kind of a mid-block crosswalk, and that's not something the state would typically approve in a location like that. So I'll talk with Police and Public Works about it to see.
Great.
Thank you.
Okay, since as I've said before, sometimes it takes a while to come up on the outside feed and people can't see it later, so I'm just going to wait a few seconds.
You are good to go.
Excellent. Joshua Meyerowitz, 7 Chesley Drive. I'd like to do a quick update on UNH's continuing cover-ups and corrupting court proceedings regarding the May 1st protest. Aidan Turner was among the 16 people who came to speak to you on February 19th in favor of a ceasefire resolution. He spoke very briefly but very eloquently, outlining crimes that was supported by the U.S. government and also the impact on Arab citizens in and around Durham. Made a good case for Durham to do something. 5 months later, 12 experts in the U.S. government issued a joint statement explaining their horror of what was going on and why they resigned. They echoed a lot of things that Aidan had mentioned about killing and forced starvation, violation of international law, and so forth. They also added how we've seen peaceful protests met with accusation of anti-Semitism and with violence. And as I've told you before, and as you know, that was certainly true here with the governor's accusations and with then the crackdown on the protesters when they had not yet violated an overnight camping ban. So peaceful protests definitely met with violence. But as I've told you before, an hour before that major crackdown, the UNH chief of the first violence was when the UNH chief of police, a sworn Durham officer, charged into the protesters to wrestle away a small piece of fabric, claimed this was a de-escalation move, that Aiden Turner and Sebastian Turner had assaulted him, and that state police were needed to respond. As I told you before, just repeating truth in the face of repeated lies. There were no tents yet erected. There was no linked armed circle. Aiden Turner observed but did not touch the chief. Same thing with Sebastian Rowan, who was in the vicinity but not touching the chief. Sebastian Rowan was fingered by the chief for a takedown for assaulting him very violently. Then the charges were changed to Sebastian assaulting the officers who assaulted him. And on October 8th, Sebastian took a plea deal to avoid the felony charges possibly being reintroduced and to avoid the other charges. But back to Aiden Turner. Aiden Turner, who had never touched the chief, was not in the protest area, was not running away, was taken down violently, as you've seen, with no warning, and charged with multiple crimes. Aiden and Sebastian both spent the night and to the next afternoon in jail, and on this false charge of assaulting the chief. Then UNHPD created this fanciful affidavit explaining claiming that Aiden Turner repeatedly assaulted the chief when this was disproved by video evidence and confirmed by the Concord Monitor on June 30th. 72 days after the Concord Monitor exposed the chief's false affidavit, UNHPD shockingly provided the trial judge with a discredited affidavit. I was at the trial. She repeatedly referred to these false charges and how UNH police never overcharge, they never overreact, they're very sympathetic to young people, and she wanted to make sure that Aiden Turner understood the seriousness of what he'd been charged with, assaulting the chief. And she also questioned whether he actually knew anything about why he was at the protest, and said maybe it was just something not up your alley, but that you were interested in terms of joining into a protest. I updated the president of UNH about this on the September 17th forum, which I recommend you all watch. And I also told her that it was really important to the truth to be revealed and to exonerate them for the media record that persists, that will haunt them the rest of their lives. 15 days later, I was shocked to see the president basically turn over the issue to the chief and to his after-action report, which basically exonerated everything they did, de-escalation tactics, a repeat of the false claims I've shown you multiple times about the sequence of events with not what happened and not what is easily shown on video. There is a working group that's operating, but its focus so far is mostly on policy, future-oriented policy, rather than the type of investigation the UNH Faculty Senate voted for. And there is an input for anybody watching this, anybody here, to send them with or without names input. I've already provided them with all three of my prior presentations to you, which are also on YouTube, Facebook, and X. There's some question about conflict of interest here in terms of the chief allowed to investigate himself. These witnesses, Tom Cronin, who's now the president's chief of staff, and Michael Blackman, another witness, none of whom have told the truth so far, who are on the working group. So these are some issues I hope you will confront in terms of the town of Durham's resolution and the role of the chief of police as a Durham officer. Thank you very much.
Madam Chair.
Yes.
While Josh is here, there's an excellent article in the Concord Monitor. I think many of you have seen it, and it raises an issue I think it might be good to clarify, because it infers that the UNH Police Department works for the town of Durham. And I had a conversation with Todd about this. It is an administrative, that's not accurate. And I think Todd can explain it better. My understanding is that they get their accreditation through the town. This is not to comment on what happened that day. It's just to clarify what's in the newspaper. I think it's a little misleading. I think, could you explain it? Because other people might be confused too if they see that.
Sure. In the state of New Hampshire, there's no direct transferal of policing authority from the state to the university system of New Hampshire. The state confers policing authority to the New Hampshire State Police, to the sheriff's departments in the state, and to the local town and city municipal police departments. So in the town of Durham confers policing authority to individuals hired and supervised by the University of New Hampshire who meet the requirements to be a police officer in the state of New Hampshire. The university chief certifies to the Durham chief that in fact individuals who the university would like to hire as university officers do meet the standards for being a police officer in the state of New Hampshire. And if that is the case, the Durham chief will then confer policing authority upon that individual. And that individual is then sworn in by the Durham town clerk to be a police officer in the town of Durham. So the policing authority University of New Hampshire police officers execute is in fact the authority granted to the university police force and the individual officers by the Durham police chief. Those individuals also, because I'm the chief appointing authority in the town of Durham, have to be signed off on by me. So I sign off on those as well. And in fact, I'm looking to make sure that those individuals have been confirmed by our chief to be eligible to be sworn law enforcement officers in the state of New Hampshire. From that point, the daily supervision of those individuals is overseen by the UNH police chief. Now, as part of the arrangement the town and the university have in place, there is a memorandum of understanding where this conferral of policing authority is outlined. And one of the things that the town insisted upon when we entered into that more than 20 years, this most recent iteration more than 20 years ago, was that the University of New Hampshire police force be accredited by the same agency and at the same level as the Durham Police Department. And in that way, we could assure ourselves as a town that the university was operating under nationally accredited best practices and was not only adopting those policies, but would be evaluated on an ongoing basis by external professional examiners to ensure that, in fact, UNH police, like Durham police, were not only adopting the policies, but were following such policies. Now, at any time, the Durham police chief hypothetically could reach in and remove the policing authority, rescind the policing authority for any individual within the university force. In practice, that's not what occurs. Rather, the Durham chief and the UNH chief work together regularly. They confer regularly for many years. The primary responsibility for policing on campus is delegated to the university police force, and that ensures that Durham tax dollars are not being expended policing the campus of the University of New Hampshire, which is a significant undertaking. The Durham Police Department primarily polices off campus. If a UNH officer is driving through town on a municipal road and comes across an offense, that individual is able to stop and deal with it. And similarly, if the town force is on campus and they come across an offense or a problem, they can address it. And the two forces in practice operate as sister agencies where they provide ongoing support to one another on a day in and day out basis. And so if there's an issue in the middle of the night and Durham officers need support, typically UNH police are the first to arrive because they're in town. And the same is true with something that happens on campus. So that's the arrangement that has been
I just want to make clear, for anyone who sees the article, it infers that the town has operational control of the UNH Police Department. That's not the case. We have the relationship that Todd just described.
Yeah, and one of the goals the town had about 24 years ago, there was tremendous discussion in Durham about whether it made more sense to have the UNH Police Department operating under the Durham Policing Authority, or whether we would be open to the university approaching the state and obtaining its own direct conferral of policing authority, which at that time the university wanted to do. And the town felt very strongly that that would be inappropriate, that it was much better to ensure that there was consistency in the style and type of policing on campus and off through this ongoing practice of conferral of Durham Police Authority. So in a worst case scenario, the Durham Police Chief could step in and take some action. And the action would be essentially rescinding police authority to those officers on campus.
May I?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good question.
Couple yes or no questions for you. Does Durham task UNH police officers on the daily duties of their tasks?
No, that all is,
Does
no.
Durham pay UNH police salaries?
No,
All right, who writes the chief of UNH Police's performance review?
the University of New Hampshire staff. It depends who is in charge of the UNH Police Department
Sure.
on campus.
Does anyone in Durham write the performance
No, I
review
think
for the
most
PD?
recently it's been the vice president for student services.
So whatever administrative agreement that has occurred, operational control is housed and enforced by UNH.
Correct. And there's no lack of understanding about that between Durham Police and UNH Police.
They
Cool.
do
Thank you.
have to be accredited by CLIA, though. Of accreditation.
Understood.
And because of this relationship, the University of New Hampshire also has to meet those expectations.
And if they did not, UNH, or Durham Police, would we lose our CALIA or would UNH lose their CALIA?
Well, if UNH Police failed to obtain CALIA accreditation, the town would be within its rights to say to the university, look, you're in violation of our
But that's an
memorandum of
option, that's
understanding.
not a mandate. That's an
Right.
option by the Durham could choose.
That's correct. That's correct. But our expectation, the history is that the UNH Police Department for many years was not an accredited agency, and this is going back 24 years. And Durham had some concerns about daily practices at the University Police Department, and as part of the difference. So the UNH department today is a very professionally run police department.
Thank you.
I have some additional questions, but I will save them for the roundtable on this topic, because I don't want to hold up presentations more. But I just wanted to, I think it's an important discussion to